and gentlemen, filmmakers and moviegoers alike, welcome to this week's episode of Critically Casual. Hi Dev, how you doing today?
Are you ready to Dumbo?
I'm glad you got where I was going with that. Are you ready? Got to review! I'm just kidding. Alright, so.
I know we're not there yet, but can I say, why the fuck did they have to do that? Like, of all things to do.
And
like,
they had to do it multiple times, too.
Yeah! That was...
Okay. Oh yeah, I forgot that's how we were going to start this show.
It's only 2 seconds in and I'm already breaking down this week.
Yeah, that's how excited we were for the movies this week, everybody. That's how good our films were. So, this week, we've decided to hop into Tim Burton's live-action Disney remakes with Alice in Wonderland and Dumbo. Can you stop having a breakdown, Dev? I need a co-host, damn it. I'm not funny enough to pull this off alone.
Why? I don't get it.
Why were these made, or why did we choose to watch them?
Yes! Both!
It's not that bad, but it was kind of bad. So, anything you want to say or do other than cry, before we hop into our first movie here, Dev? I said other than cry.
This is drowning in sorrow, not crying.
Cool.
There's a difference.
Well, all you need to do is a little bit of flutter whacking, and then you'll be ready to go.
Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up, Steven! Oh, God. Alright. Alice in Wonderland.
Yes.
Where do we even start with this? Where do we start? Okay.
You're gonna hate me. I enjoyed this more than Dumbo.
Oh, no!
Yeah, okay, good.
I can say as well.
Yeah, this was actually at some points fun to watch. I thought it was cool that what was Alice in Wonderland, which was originally many people would call an acid trip, was turned into an acid trip mixed with like medieval fantasy warfare, and it was kind of entertaining to watch for me, especially
Okay.
by comparison.
I'll say that. By comparing it to the other film, yes. But
Hi, Chase.
this film does so. This movie does more with. I don't know how to put this. This film does nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because, and this is no offense to the people in the film, because there are some great actors and actresses in this film.
Oh, absolutely. Like,
But it just doesn't. It just like things just happen in the film. Essentially.
mm-hmm.
And part of my problem with this film is that stupid goddamn almanac thing that just predetermines the entire film.
Oh yeah, the destiny of the film has been decided at the very beginning of the film.
Yeah, there's usually, if there's one of those kind of things in a movie, usually the point of the film is to go against the destiny and change the destiny.
Yeah, it's like in that film, if there's that kind of motif, it's like, no, I won't do what is foretold. I will make my own path and do it my way. And then like they look at it after it's happening, and it's like, hey, look, she's changed fate, and it like portrays it in the image, like
Exactly. This just pretty much says Alice is gonna kill the what is it? It was a
the
Jabberwocky.
Jabberwocky.
I couldn't remember if it was a Jabberwocky or a Flarkin for some reason. And I was like, the Flarkin's not right. That's goddamn fucking Captain Marvel.
Yeah, this was confusing to me because I'm thinking like Jabberwocky, which is a dance group in real life. I'm thinking Bandersnatch, which is a movie in real life, and like all these different fantasy names are being used in things that I actually enjoy, and it makes me sad.
And I'll say this. Um, this film has a real problem of just having people just they don't. I'm fine with a world that has people just exist in it. You know what I mean? But when your leads, because I've been watching who is it? It's totally not Mark. He does a lot of Dragon Ball videos,
Okay.
and he talked about the fact that you could have characters who I can't remember what it's called, but it's like it's essentially a unchanging lead character, which is what kind of Goku is, right?
Yeah.
But Goku still like he doesn't change based off of what happens around him. He is the thing that causes the change around him, which can be entertaining. You also have developing heroes like Vegeta, those kind of characters.
Yeah.
But a character who isn't a good sorry, I'm almost done.
No worries.
But a character who doesn't make a good like protagonist is a character who is the passive.
She's just along for the ride.
Yeah, which is why Gohan didn't work. Because he's a passive protagonist. He just things go around him, and he never acts until he needs to. And that's exactly what Alice does this entire film. She doesn't do anything until she needs to do something.
But then she does it her way, except exactly how it's foretold to be.
It's not fun. It's just a movie that's just kind of there. You know what I mean?
Like, at least there were things in this movie that I thought were kind of entertaining. Like, a little bit towards the end of the film, when the Jabberwocky starts talking to Alice and, like, mentions the Vorpal sword, and I'm like, man, that's a story I'd love to hear. Like,
yeah,
like the story.
There's cool world development.
Yeah, like the fact that, like, I'm imagining now, I've heard this before somewhere, but I'm now reimagining it myself. Imagine a D&D character where you are a sentient weapon, and your story is like somebody picks you up, you take over their body, kind of like the helmet in DC of whatever his name is that I can't remember.
Dr. Fate.
Yes, Dr. Fate. Yes, that character, whatever his actual... If it's actually Dr. Fate, I don't know.
It's Dr. Fate.
Okay. Like,
yeah,
imagine...
Dr. Fate, he is the hero name for the helm.
Yeah.
Because inside the helm, there's the god of order, and then whoever wears the helmet. And sometimes if you die inside the helmet, you're also inside the helmet with whoever else decides to put on the helmet with them. But, yeah. Yeah, like talking swords in shows. Like,
yeah, hey, spoilers there, Chasing. Don't be spoiling other people's shows. And so,
well, like in Skyward Sword, the sword is alive. You know, it's a sentient sword. And it's cool. It's a cool concept, and also the fact that the Jabberwocky had Christopher Lee's
that helps a lot too.
Was just. And that Alan Rickman was in this too. Like, hearing both their voices was immediately like, I miss these two.
Yeah. Like, just those strong, commanding voices were nice to hear again. But, like, even Alan Rickman. Oddly enough, I really miss that Alan Rickman voice.
Oh my god, that just, like, that very melodic, low, doesn't give a fuck voice that he had. Like, he was able to just do that so well.
But... this film, while in comparison to Dumbo, like, it was, like, we'll get to Dumbo soon. Like, I enjoyed it. I had a lot more fun watching this. I enjoyed the music in this movie because, like, it actually made me feel things at times. And
music was good. Visuals were good.
Like, there's one thing in this film that I have to give it credit for. It's that this film knows it's in a fantasy-esque, like, environment. And so it knows if things look a little wonky, it's fine. Like, this is clearly Wonderland. It's not the Earth, so things kind of look weird with the CGI. It's kind of like, it looks okay. It's passable. You can accept it. And so they get to be more creative in Alice in Wonderland with the cinematography. Like they do cool things with like moving cameras and stuff like that. And there's just one shot I wanted in Dumbo that never showed up, but was like the opening scene in this film, and I was like, that's really cool. And like, so I'm just, man, we're just bagging on Dumbo by reviewing Alice in Wonderland. And
Trust me, it's not going to get better.
yeah.
But no, the Alice in Wonderland just kind of, this is kind of their first major outing at this, right? Because
Maleficent.
Maleficent comes out like a year later, right?
Let me
If I remember
double
the timeline
check.
correctly. It's a year or two after.
Came out in 2014, so 4 years later.
4 years difference. Okay. You could tell. I don't know. Like these, the problem with these films is when they do. Like I appreciate this one, and I will say I appreciate Dumbo, and I'll get to this later. But there are two reasons why I appreciate these ones at least. Is because at least with this one, they tried something different than what was already done before, right? They changed. It's essentially a sequel to the original Alice in Wonderland cartoon movie that came out, the animated film,
Mm-hmm.
which is different than just remaking the entire original film.
Yeah, it
Which
played.
I can appreciate.
Yeah, I can appreciate that too. I thought I enjoyed this in the ways like only I can in ways only Tim Burton can make me enjoy a film. Like he took the lore and stuff like the very minor amounts of information from the original Alice, and rather than just completely
He took it from the book as well.
yeah, like rather than just remaking it completely, he added to it and expanded upon it, which that's better. That's cooler. That's nice.
Problem is, doesn't make it a better film.
No,
I
because
think that film's problem is that even though it's something different to a story that's already been told, it's not told well, in my opinion.
yeah, no, there's a lot of it. A lot of the storytelling I think has to do with subtleties, be it like just how the world is designed, like and just how the characters move. That's a lot of how the story is told, and but when you're trying to put together the plot of how like she gets from starting in a wedding to fighting a lightning dragon.
Engagement party.
Yes, my apologies. An engagement party to fighting a lightning dragon. It's less coherent than you would think in such a vast, like such a strange beginning and end. But
Well, those two don't exactly sound like they'll go together, but this film doesn't make them actually go together either.
yeah, like that's what I was trying to say there. Yeah. Go ahead, Deb.
Like you would expect the plot to follow the trajectory to that point correctly, but this film has moments where you just kind of like, and it tries to do a lot of like symmetry between the real. They try to pull a Wizard of Oz with this one, with a lot of symmetry between both worlds.
And like actors playing the same roles, like different same key roles or something.
Well, not like that. There's only one person who I think plays in both worlds.
But they remind
Well,
her of the same people.
Yeah, but the problem with it is that well, actually no, he only plays. There's no one who plays two characters in this film.
No, it's just like mannerisms and like physicality that's similar.
Yeah.
That if it was more of a direct Wizard of Oz comparison between Wonderland and like her regular world, I think that'd be fun. I think it'd probably work better. But it's just like
Maybe.
it's just like a twisted version of her world almost.
Yeah, it doesn't ever feel like it's gonna go anywhere after a certain point. Like it doesn't feel like it can surprise us because like there's a certain point where just like it's just gonna do what it says it's gonna do.
Mm-hmm. And even at some points in the film, like it feels like because they're so heavily trying to funnel us towards one point, like they try to escape it a little bit, but then a dialogue or something will be super clunkily shoved in there and then put us back into the certain path. Like
Yeah.
when was about to be arrested for unlawful seduction, and then the mouse gave her away or whatever. Like,
Yeah, it it just follows a line, and it doesn't have anything to else to do. Like it's just like we're just gonna do this, which can work in films, but not when you explain the entire goddamn plot in the first 5 minutes.
mm-hmm. No,
I don't know how else to put it. It's just like that is this film's biggest problem is that like the plot is explained when you start the film.
I've got nothing to oppose you with, or even like you're just right. You're just kind of right.
It's rare that we come to this conclusion together so unanimously.
So, Dev, I feel at this point, yes, unlawful seduction chasing. That is a line in this movie.
Yep.
Off with her head. Arrest her for unlawful seduction. Yeah. So, with that in mind, Dev, if you had to unlawfully seduce a number of popcorns, how many of those popcorns...
I hate how you just said that.
I know. If you were to review this movie out of 1 out of 10 popcorn kernels, like how many of said popcorn kernels would you give this film?
See, okay. It's not anywhere near the worst film we've seen.
You're not wrong.
But you know what? It kind of falls in line with where Full Metal Alchemist movie fell for me, which is around a 4. It's just because it has cool moments and cool visuals, but it doesn't do anything with it. It's weird to draw parallels to that film, which we haven't talked about in a while, but it just does. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So a 4? That seems kind of a little low almost. And
maybe
like
a 4.5
yeah.
probably. Actually,
Okay.
I'll go with a 4.5.
Okay.
Like for me, it's just like I can't stomachly give it a 5 overall.
It's
just
just by
it's
principle.
Well, not by principle, just that the film doesn't. It's not interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't capture anything for me. It doesn't. You have Disney magic, as our tweet said.
Yeah.
But there isn't much Disney magic in this film.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of feels like. It either feels like. It feels like Tim Burton didn't have enough room to do his creative crap that he does.
I would kind of agree. But like I honestly, oddly enough, I was thinking of this movie as like Bill and Ted's Fantastic Adventure. Like this, it seems like a very cheap knockoff of like Lord of the Rings. That something like Bill and Ted would travel through time in a phone booth to get to, and like
that's a fair way of putting it. It feels like yeah, no, that's a good way of putting it because like there are times where it feels like it's trying to be Lord of the Rings,
yeah,
like straight up. Like there's a scene where she's wearing goddamn elfin clothing.
And there's conversations of like I love like when Alice is talking to the White Queen and it's just like my sister chose choosing like dominion over the living creatures, and here she is like putting all of this like dead animal stuff into these potions, and it's like you seem like a much more sick and twisted person, but because you have a positive attitude, everyone likes you.
Yeah. And chasing, to counter your point, I will counter that with saying that one,
Disney's magic stuff
Princess
in the 90s.
and the Frog is a good film.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's a good film. I enjoyed it. Like Disney still has Disney magic when they choose to use it. It's that their live action stuff just doesn't capture that magic. Mm-hmm. I will say, like their animated films still capture Disney magic. Like look at Big Hero 6, look at Tangled, look at Frozen. Like as goddamn unstoppable as some of those. Look at Zootopia as well. Like those are still some they're good films.
Oh, by the way, I found out that they did make a live action Cinderella movie. So we have another.
Yeah, we told that. We talked about that. That's the other two that we have left.
The Alice and Cinderella, and we haven't seen Maleficent either.
We have 3 Disney films left.
Yeah. So
We're gonna run out another 2 this year,
yeah,
probably.
I forgot about Alice. Cinderella. I remembered Maleficent and
We had talked about that one
yeah.
at one point. We just need to. We're still figuring some stuff out of how we're gonna do this in a few movies. But like in my opinion, Disney still hasn't lost their magic. It's just they're not. It's not on not every film like it used to be. And especially not their live action work. Their live action work has not captured the magic of like a film like the first Pirates. 'Cause let's be honest, the first and second pirate films were
pretty nice actually. Yeah.
yeah, they were fun. They were fun. Gaston is in Beauty and the Beast, which we already reviewed.
Yeah.
Different one.
That's
Cinderella's literally the forgotten like live action Disney film so far.
I mean, there's also Cinderella and the Huntsman, which is not necessarily like Disney, but whatever.
Snow White and the Huntsman.
Yeah, good point. You know what? All these movies are bad, and we should switch over to our next movie.
You haven't even put your review on it.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I was thinking honestly, like a 5, maybe a 4.5. Yeah, like I liked parts of this film more, just because they're like you said, there's nothing super amazing about this film. It was okay throughout the whole time. Like it doesn't necessarily make sense how we get to point A to point B, but it was at least kind of entertaining to me because, you know, it's fantasy shit and I love fantasy shit. So
that's fair. That's fair. You will always. I think it's pretty much predestined that you will probably rate a fantasy film higher than I will, and I will rate a sci-fi film higher than you will, unless the film's just good.
Yeah. So
if it's a bad version of those 2 films, usually it's predestined.
Because I still
predestined.
Even though this movie was garbage, I would still watch her like chop off the head of the Jabberwocky like 20 times. Spoilers.
Oh no, that's cool. It's fun. Just also the rest of the movie's just boring as shit. Visually cool, boring as shit.
Yes. Okay.
I hate saying because I like visually stunning movies, and then they're just boring. It just kind of sucks.
So, speaking of kind of boring and maybe sucks, you want to talk about Dumbo 2019, Dev?
All right, so the spoiler-free version of this. What the fuck, Disney? This. Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna say this, and it's gonna sound really bad, but it's the only way I can put this in terms.
Okay.
It's bad when the fucking 1930s version of this film, which is laden with goddamn racist undertones throughout all of it, is somehow more entertaining and more about Dumbo than the 2019 remake.
Yes. And I find that especially interesting that Dumbo, the 2019 remake, actually shows far more flying elephant and has like more of a like the lines of the story seem like better connected, but the original 1939 Dumbo is still more entertaining to watch and like still kind of makes more sense, even though it doesn't make sense.
This one, like, it's not even Dumbo's story.
No, Dumbo in this instance, like in the original movie, the 1939 version, this was Dumbo's story, and like Dumbo was going around and doing his own thing and like trying to just live his own life
and see a mama.
Yeah, and in this movie, Dumbo is more like the MacGuffin in this film for the 2 main characters, which are the children.
Well, I'd say 3 main characters because you also got what's his face?
Holt Ferrier.
Colin Farrell. Yeah. Holt Ferrier, played by Colin Farrell. Who? He hasn't had much. I feel like he keeps getting put into films that just don't do him justice. It's like before this we had Fantastic Beasts, and it turns out that he just gets essentially he gets offed in that. And
Mhm.
he's a better actor than what he's getting roles for.
He's probably just picking whatever roles he can get at this point because no one's giving him roles.
Yeah.
But like this Dumbo was just like the storytelling element in which like don't get me wrong, I was really amazed with what they did with this Dumbo when it came to the story because they actually pulled a story out of Dumbo which originally kind of had no story other than Dumbo's trying to fly away. And you don't see the actual flight until the last 5 minutes of the first film, like the 1939 version. In this film, you actually get a story where, even though it's not directly about Dumbo itself, it's a story that's parallel to Dumbo's story. And
Yeah.
it, it's really hard for me to explain how I'm just shocked that they could pull a story that made this as much sense as it did from A to B from Dumbo, but it's just that I like the original better, and the original is by far my least favorite Disney film.
One of, yeah, without a doubt. Just given part of it's just given its time period. It literally had a character called Jim Crow. Like, come on, come on.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't want to scream around, watch their pitch meeting about it. They lay it out really good in like 5 minutes of the stuff with that film that like obviously at the time it shows when it was made essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the fact that that one is more entertaining is saying something. And I will also say I had a major problem with the CGI in this film.
I partially agree with you because the moment I first saw this, like, I'm going to be honest, I walked in this film not knowing that,
Right, Gina? Sorry.
yeah, I mean, I walked into this movie originally not knowing that this was directed by Tim Burton because I literally tried to stay as naive and negligent about every movie that we see as possible. So I like when the first scene walks in where we get to see like the CGI and the camera moving around all the CGI structures and the CGI animals and all that stuff. Like I was like, this feels Tim Burton-y. Like it just looks like I'm about to watch a Tim Burton film. And lo and behold, that's what happened. And I think it's just
Are you talking about later in the film?
like no, just in general. Like everything had like a minor glow to it. Like
Okay. And I will say this then. None of it, like, my problem is that there was CGI inconsistency.
of course,
Which
that's
you
always your
know.
problem.
That is my problem when CGI pops up, is that when it becomes inconsistent. Like when there's a scene where one thing looks really good, and then you put it next to another thing that just doesn't look good. And the moment it got me was even just the beginning. The train in the beginning, first like 2 minutes, you see the train stop and the wheels go next to it, and it looks like it's trying to be real. And it might be a real train that they used to do that, but the way it's filmed and the after effects they add to it, it makes it look fake. And then it comes up to the stout of it and it looks real again when you come to the train stout, and all of a sudden you see the smoke come out, and all of a sudden it just looks like fake smoke again. And I'm just sitting here like I do my realism, like my ability to connect to this world where it's just like it doesn't blend correctly, I'm being taken out of right away. And the other points will be like when there's other elephants and Dumbo. Like, yeah, Dumbo needs to look different because he has big ass fucking ears. Yes, but I don't want him to look fake compared to the other elephants.
Yeah,
But the fake elephants, I'll say.
yeah, like
They look, the other elephants, you could tell they're not real, but they look real enough. And then there's Dumbo.
which had a little bit of the glow and more of the cartoony big eyes and the like.
Yeah.
It was inconsistent. Yes.
I just. Oof.
My like one of my other big complaints in this film too is they tried to keep a lot of the original like Dumbo's feel. Like they kept scenes as an homage to the original Dumbo. Like it's not a spoiler. They keep the opening train scene in this movie where like we see in the original we have a train starting at the tip of Florida and then it goes all the way up and we get to watch the train travel that way. And this movie, we kind of have the same thing, only at the same time, it's juxtaposed with visuals of, like, the ringleader doing his circus. And, like, while I, at one point, thought that was cool, like, at the very beginning, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I was then instantly upset because it was just there as an homage. There was no, like, directed by Tim Burton, main actor this or that or this. There was none of that. It was just names of cities and juxtaposition of, like, the actors going around as the train moved by. It was just to be like, hey, we did this because it's Dumbo. And if...
Yeah.
So that bugged me. And they do it again, like, later on in the film as well, where it's just like... They put it in the movie because it was in the original movie, and
I want to know what thing it was was just in there because of the original movie. And you know exactly what I'm going to say as soon as I say it.
Of course, I don't want to spoil it too much though. Like,
is it a spoiler of saying what it is right now? Because it's one of those things that like.
I mean, I don't. I think if it, I believe I know the exact one you're talking about. Sure, go for it. This may or may not be a spoiler.
The song.
Oh, the bubbles. Yeah.
No, not the bubbles.
The song.
The Baby of Mine. Baby Mine.
Oh.
Where they literally they changed they change it up and have the lady from the circus, the mermaid woman, sing the song and as after the mama gets caged.
Oh. Yeah.
And it's like straight up trying to homage that. But part of my problem, too, is the animals don't talk in this.
No. Like, a big interaction in the original Dumbo was between the ringleader mouse and Dumbo. That never happens in this film, not once.
The mouse... is this a spoiler? Can I say something about the mouse?
That it's there and then isn't important in the entire film? And it only shows up at the beginning and at the end?
He's there for all of, like...
1 minute of screen time.
He maybe gets a minute, maybe two, of screen time. The mouse literally only gets that much time in the film.
Yep. Eddie was Act 2 in the film originally. He was the second character. The side, yes. Oh, this film.
Like, they could have taken it out and I wouldn't have cared, but I care because you put him in there just to have him in there. Be like, hey, look, it's the mouse. Forget about the mouse. That's literally what you did.
Yeah, they put him in there because they had to put him in there. Like, because they're remaking the original Dumbo, they had to show the mouse at least once. But because he's so unimportant, they just instantly got rid of him. If he was around in, like, the background of scenes, I would have been happier. But he wasn't even, like, the background of, like, the tent that they live in. Like, that doesn't even happen. They're just at the beginning, and then they're at the end. It's, And then another complaint of mine is just the music in general, like the composition and the soundtrack. Like, in other films, I at least feel something when a soundtrack plays. Like, be excitement for, like, them marching into battle, because that happened in Alice in Wonderland, or, like...
Or last week. We talked about it. Both films we watched last week, music was such a big part of both those films.
Mm-hmm. And in this moment, even, like, the sad moments where... Like, I'll cry at fucking The Secret Life of Pets. Don't get me wrong, I've never seen that movie. But I bet if there's a sappy scene in that movie, I would cry. But this film had sappy scenes in the movie where it's, like, playing the sad, emotional songs. And I was just I just didn't care. I was so out of this film that I was just like, are we done yet? Is the 2 hours...
Same. I had my watch and I went... Oh man, this movie could have ended about like 20 minutes ago. And there's something that I will talk about during spoilers section, but they, if you get what I'm gonna say, I'm sorry, but they Lord of the Rings.
I
They Return the King.
okay, I understand.
Yeah, I'll say that for the non-spoiler part. But it just this movie goes on forever.
Yeah, it goes on forever. It's boring. It's got forced plots and storylines. Like
Oh my god, right?
the characters don't develop. I mean, I guess the dad develops a little bit,
The
but then
dad develops, and everyone else stays the same.
I mean, Mr. Maximilian Medici, Mancini, whatever his name
He doesn't
is.
change. He does the same thing. He's looking out for his family.
He kind of he changes
He's
a
a
little
business-
bit. Changes a
I-
little bit. Because there's a big theme. I don't know if this is spoilers. A big theme in this movie is greed and like not becoming too greedy. And Maximilian learns that at least. So
Okay, I can agree with that. But I will say as well is that even though he learns not to be greedy, as greedy,
as greedy.
the entire film he's also making sure that the circus family he has is being taken care of.
Yes, that was the whole point.
That is seriously his plot line, and that's where he starts and that's where he ends. He doesn't really change other than how he handles certain situations. But his main goals in life still are the same. The only person who kind of changes is Halt, goes from not being fatherly to being fatherly.
Yeah, to understanding what to say to his children and how to
Which
support
is
them.
the most boring fucking plot to spend an hour and 52 fucking minutes waiting for.
Especially because, like, they even bring up random things about the relationship, like, him being, like, him losing his arm. Like, spoilers, the dad doesn't have an arm, and that's, like, only important for the first 30 seconds of him on screen. But they,
Yeah.
they make it seem like it's important, like, they focus on him not being a whole person for 30 seconds, basically, and then otherwise it's not important. It's just like
Yeah.
I just ultimately, because I want to get into spoilers on this. I'm just gonna like. Are you opposed to just rating this and moving on?
I'll say this: the acting in this, and I don't want to entirely blame the actors in this one because also it wasn't much to go off of, but.
That's the same thing you say always when you criticize actors. I love it, Dev. You're like, I'm gonna criticize an actor while also shading the director and the writers because clearly it's their fault.
This also
but-
I don't even think this is Tim Burton's fault at all. I think the biggest problem with this film is that Disney meddled again. They made things have to happen because the fact that Michael fucking Keaton isn't as, even though he may be one of the most interesting things in this film, isn't even that interesting pisses me off. Because one, Michael Keaton has worked with Tim Burton on at least 3 other films and been super entertaining. If you don't know, that's Beetlejuice and the first 2 Tim Burton Batman films. And Michael Keaton is fucking fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Like, let's be honest. Like, he's amazing. The fact that Danny DeVito almost comes off as boring. Fucking Danny DeVito.
I agree with you, Danny DeVito. That was the shocking part. Like I loved. Yes, keep going.
Like, people like that who are just good. And they aren't, like, and I can't really feel like they're entertaining in this film. It just bothers me.
Even
And then there's one more problem I have with this film.
Okay.
And would you consider it being a spoiler?
I don't know what your problem is, so.
We kind of started off with it.
The announcer?
Yeah.
No. Go for it. Hit me. We've already talked about it.
Michael Buffer is the ring announcer. So when they start off,
Oh.
end.
Hold on,
Please?
Dev. Hold 1 second.
Okay.
I'm lagging quite a bit.
All right.
Hold up. Okay, start that thought over.
Okay. You have Michael goddamn Buffer as your ring announcer, which one is kind of cool because it's Michael Buffer and he's got one of the most entertaining voices for ring stuff.
He's the most iconic. Absolutely.
Yes. But then they say this one dumbass line. What? Hold on.
Let's get ready to Dumbo!
Yeah. Yeah. Or was it for Dumbo or something like that? Or they changed it just enough. And it was...
Dude, as soon as that line was said, I kind of just slouched down like, oh my god, are we done?
Yeah, I was like...
Have I died and gone to hell? What the fuck?
For a moment, I thought that's where they were going to end the film. Just like they do in the original movie when Dumbo flies for the first time on the film. Oh, Dev got angry.
The movie's so bad that Nick Fury just dived.
Yes. It's like, fuck this shit. Oh, God. So, just...
I'm sorry.
This movie's bad. Even the main, like, I love this because when I look at the IMDb, when you think about how they show actors and actresses on the movies, it's how they're supposed to be listed by most, like they're supposed to be like most important in their roles, essentially. And you look at this. The two main characters, the two children, Millie and Joe Ferrier, are the 6th and the 7th role, like the 7th credit shown in IMDb.
Alan Arkin is higher than them.
And he's on screen for 20 minutes.
For about the same amount of time as the mouse.
Yeah. Like, even...
He actually gets more screen time than the mouse, now that I think about it.
Yeah, even Ava Green. Like, she's an important character, yes, but she's not the fucking main characters of the movie. She's a forced love plot in this film. Like... Okay, so Dev, like,
well, I mean, let's say theoretically, I gave you 10 popcorns, and you had to give some of those to this film. How many would you give to this film?
See, to me, these popcorns have been sitting in an elephant's pen at a circus for about a week. So I could really only stomach about 3 of these before I'm going to throw up. So this is a solid 3 out of 10 for me. Like,
you know what's funny? I'm actually going to give it a 3.5. And you want to know why?
Why is that?
Nuka-Cola World.
But it's the world of science and wonder.
The fact that I just said how this would go, I didn't think about it until just now. That is exactly how we fucking voted.
Oh.
Ugh.
Okay.
Rounding it up to a 3.5.
Okay. So, Dev.
Alright, here we go. Spoiler line, right?
Yes, we're off.
Let's get on.
Let's get ready to spoiler! I'll have to soundbite that later.
Just so that every time we go into spoiler territory, I can just hit the button.
Okay, so anybody who's here who doesn't want to be spoiled by the movie that we've kind of spoiled at least once probably by now already, get out of here. But you're not going to want to watch this movie in theaters, so you can stay if you want to know.
Yeah, I'm honestly not giving this... I don't even want to give it a rent it. Like,
yeah, wait for it to show up on cable television on like...
Put it on Netflix.
It's not going on Netflix. It's going on Disney Plus.
Well, if you're on Disney Plus, wait for it on there.
Yeah, like
you're gonna have Disney Plus, people.
Probably. Probably.
I'm sorry, but you're probably gonna get it. You're gonna want to see the new Marvel series that they're having on there. You're gonna want to see the Star Wars series.
They're currently the mass media giant, Disney.
Yeah.
So
you're gonna wait till it's on there when you have Disney Plus.
So there is a lot wrong with this movie, in my opinion, and even just small scenes like I was really thrown off when both times they decided to break the fourth wall and talk to the audience and to the camera directly. Like, the fact that Mr. Vanderveer, when he's selling Mancini on the thought, and he's like pointing his cane and staring us in the eyes as he's like, "You're a con man, but I can get you your dream. We're off to Wonderland," and like, it's like
Dreamland.
Yeah, my apologies. This also has Nightmare Island, by the way.
Dreamland.
Dreamland, yes, because there's similarities to the beginning and the end when the D falls, you know. So, I just don't even like. This legitimately is possibly the worst movie that we have spent time on, I feel. Like, I was mad that I was in theaters watching this for this show. Legitimately.
I agree. Like, I'm not, I feel like, I want to say this is the worst movie we've seen in theaters. Potentially.
And,
at least both of us. I know the one you and Torn did. Had one film that could maybe compete with this.
I've probably blocked it out of my mind in all honesty.
Sherlock and Holmes.
Oh yeah, that was pretty terrible. No, this was worse than Sherlock and Holmes. Like Sherlock Holmes. Because at least that had a joke or something that made me laugh once or twice. Like, this was just straight up boring and unemotional and I didn't feel interested or connected in anything that was happening in this film. And
yeah,
I don't know what it was. It just didn't grab me. And just how they treated the characters and like the whole him not having an arm bit, not being important, but supposed to be like a main part of his character. And like
the thing they tried to do with it was make it so that he would defend Dumbo for having big ears because he's different. Was their kind of thing with it.
And he's ashamed of who he's become somehow. He's not like the trick writer he used to be or whatever. So he's ashamed of what he is. But they also don't portray that well. All they say is it's throwaway lines when he's like dressed up as a clown and he's like, "You said you don't want to be recognized." So like, it's just this is a bad movie, guys. Like, I'm more proud of how I came up with my 3 out of 10 popcorn kernel story than I am that we watched this movie. Like,
yeah.
So, like I said, the fourth wall breaking.
The only good thing that's come out of this is now that we're gonna have a spoiler soundbite that can get played.
Oh yeah.
Every time we switch over to the spoiler section.
Basically,
that's seriously the best thing that's come out of this film for us.
Like, when we go down and break this movie down piece by piece, it's like the beginning opening scene is super dumb because, like, I mean, it's cool because it's the original scene of the movie, but and modernized. So sure, that's cool, whatever. But otherwise, it's pointless. Then they changed the story of the storks, which is totally fine. So he just bought a pregnant elephant. Cool, whatever. That's fine. It all makes sense. But then they had random bullshit scenes.
And I did appreciate what they did with that, which was the storks do still fly by at that moment.
It was more of a metaphor for, like, a new season, like spring is coming and the baby's coming spring because they just spent 9 months locked in a cave or some shit for hibernating. I don't know. Animal stuff. But, like, that, they at least did that fine. But then they have other garbage throwaway things, like they freaking brought back the Fantasia scene with the bubble elephants. And that was so
weird.
It was supposed to be a homage to the original Fantasia scene in the Dumbo when Dumbo gets drunk.
Yes, but they even referenced that by saying one of the clowns is drinking, and then Danny DeVito's like, no booze near the baby.
Yeah. And then, like, and even the audience gets to see the dancing elephants. Like, Danny DeVito's like, elephants.
Pink elephants.
Yeah. Like, it was just there because it was in the original movie. It had nothing to do.
It was almost more disturbing in this film, though.
That's the Tim Burton twist. That's the only reason why I appreciate it. It's because Tim Burton made it, so it was creepy. The creepy moments in this film, which were plentiful thanks to Tim Burton, were pretty creepy. But it's only because they made Dumbo into this creepy disaster.
Yeah. And I'll say, my God, that pink elephant scene.
The pink elephant scene. I'm trying to remember which scene that was.
Pink elephant. We just talked about it. Bubbles.
Yeah, the bubbles. Okay, yeah.
My God, dude. Like, it comes out of nowhere, man.
Mm-hmm. It's
Like,
just...
It's literally just, like, all of a sudden there's some bubbles coming out. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then, I assumed that they would maybe be, like, pink elephants, floating upward. I didn't expect, like, an actual recreation of the fucking scene.
Mm-hmm. Like, that's just something that they didn't need to throw in there. But at the same time, they probably had to because Disney's like, we need the Fantasia scene, damn it. That's what Dumbo is.
You could have put the scene in there because, one, it is a scene that actually, like, if you take the scene out of the movie and put it somewhere else, it could work way better because it's creepy as all fucking hell.
Mm-hmm.
Like my God.
The biggest worst part, like, at least in the original version of the scene, when they show it, it's like, it's because it's Dumbo drunk off of his mind, watching, like, imagining and hallucinating this thing that's happening. And this, it's just like, Dumbo's about to perform, guys, and he's just sitting there watching the bubbles. Like, that does nothing for him. Like, they just show his eyes as he's, like, watching the bubbles, and that's it. And then when all the bubbles pop, it's like, is this a metaphor that Dumbo's about to die or something? And it does nothing. Like, Dumbo's not afraid. And he's like, it doesn't do anything. It's just like, I'm entertained by the bubbles and the music, and now it's done. And let's get ready for Dumbo! Like...
Let's get ready to Dumbo!
I'm so glad I have the soundboard just for this movie now. Like, that's... that line was so dumb.
And then the worst part about it, like, to me, is the damn forced love plot between Colette and Holt.
Oh my God, right?
At no point should they show any interest in each other. It's just like,
See, they work together so they fall in love. Love story.
Yes, and we don't even get to see them work together much. Like,
it is the most. Oh God. It is so forced.
Mm-hmm. And then, because they thought we weren't feeling enough emotions, they had to show us like 3 different endings to this film, where Dumbo left,
My God!
where they had the happy circus, and then they had the happy elephant. And each one of them was like 10 minutes of them showing like, this is the end of this storyline. This is the end of the Medici family storyline. This is also commercial. And then this is the end of a circus, or of the story of Dumbo. Like,
My God, it could have ended when he went on the boat.
Yes.
And maybe had like
a mid-credit
just a
scene.
sto- well, not even that. Like, you could have went like a 2 minutes of the family being together kind of thing. Like, yeah, go with the forced love plot, whatever. 2 minutes. Instead, we got an actual commercial for the Medici family circus that went for fucking ever.
Mm-hmm. Like, don't
That-
get... Go ahead.
Went on for, I swear, 10, 15 minutes.
It was kind of cool at some parts, because they use, movie magic to add mystique and mystery to it. And they added a whole bunch of, like, one-shots and zero cuts in the editing, so it kind of looked cool. But ultimately, it was just a fourth wall breaking actual commercial for a fake thing. and it was stupid to me.
My God, right? In a time that you're not really gonna have a commercial like that.
Like, what, other than the fact that it shows that his circus is now thriving and they're all happy together because they learned that being greedy and demanding money from banks to fund your flying dreamland.
Dude, no, they still got money from Alan Arkin's character.
Oh, yeah, they did.
From
Which-
JG.
Which it's totally unwarranted too, because all we get to see is Alan Larkin's character be like, "Your elephant doesn't fly. This isn't worth investing in." And then Vanderveer gets his shit kicked in, and he's like, "You know what? I like you, Bendici. You laughed at this guy with me. Let's go fund your circus." Like,
Pretty much.
that's. Was that audible enough?
Yeah, I think so.
Is there a line on my forehead now? Because that's how I feel watching this movie.
Well, and the thing is, you could have developed that a little bit better. Like, yeah, like from a business standpoint, it does make sense to go with the guy who did find the flying elephant, because he probably has a little bit more magic than the dude who.
The man made of magic dust. The moon's made of magic dust.
Oh my God, that scene! That scene could have been used for developing these characters instead of being about magic dust on the fucking moon and sending someone to the moon. Like, my fucking God. There were so many better ways you could spend your time in this film.
To me, I kind of appreciated it only because, like, from the very beginning of the moment where you see Vanderveer, you can tell he's a scam man. Like, there's just hints and tones and undertones of, like, he is going to fuck these people over. Yes, it's very obvious. And the only reason why I find that scene at least kind of a little bit acceptable is because when I think of a bank person, an investor for banks, and I think of banks like they're like, we believe in the future, we believe in dreams, but really all they believe in is money. So they're putting on the facade of caring about, like, putting on a show, but really it's all about money. So, like, it kind of is passable for him to be like, we want to be the first bank to send people to the stars.
The bank wants you. When you get a loan from a bank, they honestly want you to succeed most times because they want you to be able to pay the fucking money back.
Yeah.
So, you know, Alan Arkin's character, JG, I'm just gonna call him Wentworth,
Okay.
because of that. Because as soon as Danny Vito calls him JG, my brain immediately went Wentworth. Call Ace. Call JG.
877 cash go.
But that's exactly what popped in my head. So he's Wentworth now. But when, like, with Wentworth, it's believable because he does seem to have that visionary idea. But he also is a businessman and wants things to succeed because that means he makes more money.
Yeah.
So, like, it makes sense for him to send people to the moon because he wants to be known as the bank that sends someone to the moon. That makes him more money.
Exactly.
And it's a cool thing that. But why do we need this? Like, yeah, we get an idea for his character, but there are other ways you can do it other than that clunky ass set of lines.
Yeah, absolutely. And plus, a problem that I always have with movies, which I don't know why I didn't bring this up in the non-spoiler section. Just too many characters.
My God, right?
Like,
I didn't know half of the characters in this film's names.
yeah, the only one that I remembered was Rongo the Strongo, the most versatile man in the world, because he's an accountant and a drummer and a musician and still strong.
I remembered Rongo and Miss Atlantis. The rest of the goddamn circus crew were seriously just there.
You know what? There's one character, I wish he had a name. I don't think he has a name. He was the small dude who was helping Rongo during his, like, side performance before he runs in to be the one-man band. I think, because I don't know if it was just angles or something, he looked like a little person. But like what's happening is Rongo is just holding up a giant barbell, and then Medici's like, "Hey Rongo, let's go," and he just throws the barbell, and the guy catches it and walks away. Like I thought that was funny because that's circus like fakery right there. But then he doesn't have a name. That's it. That's it.
He probably does, but going through this list is goddamn impossible to find out who is who because there's so many. There are a lot of unique names on the list.
I'm enjoying this. Like, this person is Zenaida Alcaide. That was the actress playing Catherine the Great as Zenaida Alcaide.
Well, that's because that's what her title in the credits. She's under that.
Yeah, I know. It's just there's a whole bunch of interesting names. I agree with you. Neil Skilbert.
But I don't know until I look up who they were. I'm not gonna know who they were.
There's just too much going on. Even in Alice in Wonderland, the characters had more development. There are still too many characters, but they had more development at least than this.
I'll say this: most of those, I think part of that movie, the reason why we would probably rate it higher, is due to the fact that they were more interesting from the get-go.
Yeah.
The fact that you start this in a circus, and I'm not I'm intrigued by the people, but I don't have anything to go off of with them. They literally just they just exist. You kind of all you get to know about them is just one moment of seeing one perform magic or one perform Shakespeare. That's seriously it.
You know what? Dev, I'm about to pitch you a movie, okay? Imagine. Okay. I want to pitch you the story of Dumbo with a twist, okay? Cut out the kids. They're not useful. Imagine you're watching a movie of this broken down circus man who strikes big and getting a discount pregnant elephant. And all of your money, all of your friends, all of your fortune, everything is riding on getting this elephant to work. And the movie is about this man who's struggling. He finds a little bit of luck with what happens to be magic, it seems like. And then he has to go through and starts dealing with other people trying to con him and stuff like that. This is a story about, it's not necessarily a kid's story for sure, I'll be honest with you, but it's a story about a man who's dealing with inner conflict to try and better and be there for the people he loves, and he just is on the wrong side of certain situations.
So are you saying take out the entire family and just have it be Danny DeVito?
Yes.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah. Better, imagine moments where he's sitting in his office, talking to the monkey in his desk, if we don't sell out this next show, we're not going to have enough fuel to get to the show after that. Or things like that, where he's just trying to make logistics and get rid of things. And it's him struggling to get through life, but then the magic and love of Dumbo and the things that he develops through what this elephant has given him and changes him as a person, and then he releases Dumbo to the wild with his mother and opens a new circus with better values because of what he's learned. That sounds a better movie to me than my two kids who are very much one note throughout the entire film, missing their mom and connecting to an elephant who's also missing their mom.
Yeah, I don't like shitting on child actors. It makes me feel like an asshole because, let's be honest, it's tough to be a kid actor.
True, you're not wrong. However, I will shit on them because I'm not a kid actor and I want to be. So, yeah, I'm jealous of you. I'm going to critique you. I'm kidding.
But by God, was their plot the most boring fucking thing ever? And and it's not their fault because you have to act as though something that's not there is there, which even for actors of high caliber is tough.
Mm-hmm.
There were plenty of points when Dumbo was supposed to be there and they were supposed to react to something Dumbo has just done, and it just doesn't come off of how you would react to the situation.
Or
they're not the only ones in the film that do this. I'll say that. Well, because they have the most time with Dumbo, it's the most prevalent with them.
Hang on, I'm looking something up real fast because there's one thing that bugs me. So you were talking about acting now. There's one character. He shows up less than the mouse, but his acting was so terrible that it really was like, are you kidding me? And it was the light operator guy in the tower. Like, I don't know what his actual title was in the script, but, like, he's the guy who's telling Mr. Vanderveer, we have to reset the system or else we could overload the park. And then his reactions to Mr. Vanderveer just flipping switches is, like, so fake. And it really reminded me. Yeah, it looked like... Do you know that popular gif of, like... the person who does that
You
weird
know what?
shape
He's
with
probably Pipsqueak Engineer. I just found it on there. There's Burly Engineer and Pipsqueak Engineer.
Pipsqueak Engineer. Let me see. Pipsqueak Engineer. Richard Lemon.
He is probably Pipsqueak Engineer.
I'm gonna assume so. Yes. Because I only say that because the only reason he stuck out to me, other than him being like really shitty at acting, is like with his reactions, but like he reminded me of that one gif, the popular meme of the like shitty reaction where the person like has a odd haircut and their mouth changes in weird ways, like I can't remember. I have to find it so I could show you guys, but
Yeah, no, he wasn't yeah. You know what's something else that kind of upsets me? Is there photos of this film like that Dumbo looks way better in the photos?
yes, you're not wrong. Let's see. Where can I...
Like, I don't know if it was just the one that I watched, but there are some scenes that Dumbo just looks way better in these stills on IMDb than in the actual goddamn movie.
Oh, by the way, my favorite part of this film, Nightmare Island. And the heist with the old circus getting out the mom.
That was cool.
That was cool.
Hey, there's a fucking film for you.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Let's turn...
There's so many films inside this film that would have been so much more interesting.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you know what else would have worked? You know how Christopher Robin also takes place just after a World War?
Mm-hmm.
And how they tied that into the plot really well?
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Like, we praised that film for that.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I enjoyed that film. It was nice.
And then they do this with Colin Farrell's character, where it has nothing to do with his character. He just got back from fucking World War One.
It does
nothing. It does nothing. He doesn't like. He doesn't have any PTSD. He's just literally lost an arm, and it doesn't affect anything about him.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong. And even sometimes with like his arm, it seems like they couldn't decide at first at what the length of his arm was, because when we first see him, it's almost like his arm is down to here, but then some scenes later, it's like he has no arm at all, and then again, he has an arm that's like down to here again. And just based on how they roll up his sleeve is basically what I'm getting at there. And I don't know. That just might be me not paying attention on that one, but...
I honestly didn't pay attention enough to it, too, because most of the movie he also has his stuffed armed prosthetic. Which, by the way, this world is weird, because it's straight up going to be the Fallout universe, is how I thought about it. This Dumbo takes place in the Fallout universe, because it's a sort of future-y world.
Partially,
after World War I. Like, more advanced than what we were at the time. Like, they have a goddamn double carousel in this world. Mm-hmm. Which is straight up out of goddamn Fallout. That's some straight up Fallout shit.
That's pretty cool.
So the fact that World War II still happens and will maybe happen in this world, it's going to be straight up Fallout world then. It's going to be the Fallout World War II.
Yeah.
And then, instead of nuclear fission,
actually,
fission, we'll find fusion.
You know what I think this is? This is the pre-world of Alice in Wonderland. Before the world happens. Because right now, these animals aren't radiated enough to talk yet. But give it enough time, because they have human characteristics, Give it enough time, they'll eventually be talking and walking and, stuff like that. So this is Tim Burton's...
Alice finds a time portal into the future.
Or is it... No, Alice has to go into the past to find Dumbo because the animals don't talk yet.
No, but Alice is from before World War One.
Oh, yes. Okay, yes, there you go. So, yeah, there you go. There. And this is all Tim Burton's version of a Disney-connected universe.
Still hate it. The worst part is there's time travel in the Alice in Wonderland sequel, so this is entirely possible.
Oh, is there really? Fuck. What have we done? We've just pitched Disney an idea. Okay. Is there any other shit we want to sling, like monkeys at his circus at Dumbo, before we move on?
Let's get ready to Dumbo!
All right, we're
I
moving.
gotta do it one more time.
It's okay. Can you also tell me? Can you also announce our Queen of the Heavens for me? Can you do that as well? Her name.
Yeah, give me a second. Give me a second.
Her full name, Colette something.
Is it Marchant? Marchant?
Let me double check.
Is how you say it? Colette Marchant?
Dumbo. Sorry, I
We got a
left.
little reverb. Does the reverb sound good?
That's
Yeah.
better. Okay,
Yeah, it
it's
sounds like I'm in a stadium.
Marchant.
Marchant?
I'll assume Marchant.
Marchant?
Yeah.
Got it. And now, Queen of the Heavens, Colette Marchant.
Not bad. You did better with Dumbo.
Yeah, because it's straight up just, it's his line.
Let's get ready to Dumbo!
It's seriously his line. Like, you know what would have been better? I even thought about this. You could have just changed maybe a couple more words in it. You know, like, let's get ready to, like, let's welcome in Dumbo. Would have been better.
Yeah.
It would have been still, he would have been able to pull that line off instead of just directly using his goddamn fucking line.
And then, let's get ready to Dumbo! And then the Looney
Wait, can we
Tunes
talk
hop
about
in.
the net thing real quick?
The net thing. Oh, yeah, sure.
What the fuck? Like,
Nets
that
are for
comes out of
practice.
fucking nowhere.
No,
That
yeah.
plot line.
It's almost like they wanted to take an idea from Avatar: The Last Airbender, where they set Ty Lee's nets on fire to amuse Princess Azula, and she's like, you know what? Destiny has told me I should go with you because I might die if I don't. It's like, that's what happened to Colette. She's like, my nets aren't there, so if I don't go with Holt, I'm probably gonna die. Like, that's what that seemed like to me.
Yeah. And it's it obviously is the first time they've ever taken her net away.
Yes, absolutely the first time they've taken her net away. Where are my nets? I've always had nets in a show. Well, not today, when it comes to making me money.
And making an elephant fucking fly,
Yeah.
we're gonna take away the net.
Yeah, right?
What?
Even, so, also, one thing. We didn't talk about this yet. Cinematography. There's one scene in Alice in Wonderland where Alice is flying, like, no, whatever it is, the Jabu Jabu bird, when it has Tweedledee and Tweedledum, and it's flying through the kingdom. The camera is following the Jabu Jabu bird, and it's like going through bushes, and it's like tracking. It's like you are actually flying with this bird. Dumbo doesn't do that at all. You are always on the ground and maybe panning with Dumbo, but at no point, other than like the scene when Dumbo flies around and spits water at the kids in the circus, like that's the one even remote moment where we kind of have emotion where we are with Dumbo, but then it's through Dumbo's eyes. It's we are Dumbo, not we are with Dumbo. So
Well,
like,
I'll say this: I didn't mind the "We Are Dumbo" scenes because there are multiple times where it's shot through like Dumbo's big ass fucking googly eyes.
yeah, with the weird distortion and stuff. Like, I
Yeah.
don't mind. Like, that's how they could tell what Dumbo is thinking based on what Dumbo's looking at. That's
and
that's
the way
fine.
that I mind some. I really do like some of those scenes when like he's going up the ladder, like the way the camera worked is it pulled out everything, like it was just rounder.
Yeah, all that stuff is fine. It's just that I was disappointed that, like, at any other movie, when we're watching something fly, we're often the camera right behind or right in front of the thing that's flying and flying with them. And that just didn't happen this movie because I think they were trying to make it look more real, and they couldn't get the CGI to look real while also tracking it the same way they did in Alice in Wonderland. That's kind of why I prefaced it when I said in Alice in Wonderland that they were okay with a little bit of the nasty distortion with the CG look, because it's a fake-ish world. This is supposed to be a real world, so if they have the CG distortion, it looks weird. And I think they were afraid to show that kind of stuff. But that bugs me, because now they're not being as creative with the cinematography, and it's not as good looking, so at least in my mind. So
yeah, no, this film just had inconsistencies. That's the only way to put it. Like, there were so many like things that just didn't work and that were forced into the film, and then just had so many things that just like didn't like, stay consistent through the film, that it just falls apart. Like,
yeah,
it sucks too, because like the last live action Disney film we watched was Christopher Robin.
Yeah, Christopher Robin was nice. I enjoyed that. It was lighthearted. It felt emotional. It felt good at the end too, when everything came together. I actually cared about Christopher Robin and his family. I didn't give a shit about anybody except for like Mancini a little bit, whatever his name is in the movie, Mancini, whatever it is. Yeah, like I only liked him because he was Danny DeVito, and I like Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
So I
Just
think
wait for it on Disney Plus.
Yeah. So yeah, don't go see this movie in theaters. Thankfully, I didn't actually spend my own money. I got tipped money right before leaving work to go for somebody taking so much time. Apparently, I did a good job, so they gave me $20, and I used that $20 to pay for this movie. So I didn't technically pay for this movie, so that makes me happy. But we're moving on to the news.
Yay!
So, Dev, you have here...
Let's get ready to news! Sorry.
Last time.
Oh, okay.
We moved on.
So, you have here... I'm not going to pull up the actual, like, scene that I made last time, because I need to fix a few things before I pull it up again. But you had news about Mark Hamill, right?
Yes. Everyone's favorite Mark Hamill.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't like Mark Hamill, what the fuck is wrong with you? He's playing Chucky in the new Chucky film, which I'm ecstatic for, because that makes me actually interested in a cliche horror film, which never happens.
Okay. You want to know why this makes me upset?
Why is that?
Because they literally chose Mark Hamill for his star power. Like, this is my assumption. I'm not going to, like, I bet you Mark Hamill's a great voice actor, and he would do great playing any creepy character. Like, the Joker can be creepy at times, and he's great at that.
And he's great at those moments.
Yeah.
Like, if you play the Arkham series, my fucking God.
Yeah, so he can pull off a creepy doll, no problem. That I'm not angry about. I'm mad because a Chucky remake is an extremely unwarranted remake that nobody has been asking for, but they decided, you know what, we're going to make it anyway. And to make people want to see this movie, we're going to put Mark Hamill in it. We're done. We're set now. It doesn't matter that this is a remake that no one's asking for. It doesn't matter that...
There are people asking for it.
I don't believe you.
Funny enough, there is a cult of Chucky, you know what I mean?
Yes, the movie Cult of Chucky, I understand.
Sorry. But there are people who love those franchises, you know what I mean? Like,
they love the original Chucky. More often than not, more often than not, you talk about remaking a movie, the original audience hates the thought of the remake. So, if they're trying to
they're still going to go see it.
Yes. And I hate that. We need to
stop. We did the same thing with Jurassic Park,
We need to stop, Dev. We're a part of the problem. We see these films because they're popular, not because we want to see them.
Hey, we see a lot of the films we want to see. Fuck off. Seriously, this year, I think Dumbo is the only bad film we've really watched this year so far.
We're gonna probably watch Dora.
Yeah, but that's gonna be on... Is that in theaters?
I don't know. Probably. It seems like it.
Hey, and sometimes we watch them because
We
it's
watched
amazing.
Batman
We wanna-
Ninja. That didn't go on to theaters.
Okay, no, it didn't. But we had a fucking blast with that film. Would you take that one back?
You know, I would only take that back because I didn't get to watch it the exact same way you did. I watched it through Discord, through you, screen sharing it to me.
Provoking.
Yeah, so it wasn't
That's
as
fair.
great as it could have been, but it was still fun.
We need to actually watch that for real sometime.
Yeah.
That is on the. If we ever do a voiceover work for it, like our own voices talking about a film, that's one of them. That's got to be one of them.
I agree with you, yes, but I'm just mad that like I don't mind Mark Hamill being Chucky. That's fine. I look forward to that. I'm mad that Mark Hamill's Chucky when we don't need a Chucky.
Watch this year when that film comes out. It's actually gonna be fucking fantastic for some reason. Now.
Sure. You know what? If it happens, what should I do, Dev? I don't know. Like,
No, what are you gonna do to that?
I don't know. Like, sure, if it's great, thank God that they actually made a great remake. But I'm tired of these non-original IPs.
Hey, we just had an original IP last week. Do
well.
I think it did
Yes.
like as good as the Avatar did opening.
Yes,
weekend.
opening weekend it did as well as Avatar, which is sad because that's the first IP in 10 years to do as well as Avatar. The 10 years, nothing
Okay,
new has
I'll
come
say
out
this.
as good as Avatar.
I'll say this. I don't want to say nothing new. Like original IPs. Okay, I'll say this.
They're a risk.
I'm fine with Well, not just that. I'm fine with adaptations of things that are not in movie form.
That's a
I don't
little more
necessarily
okay.
consider.
It's a
I don't
little
consider
better.
those new IPs, but they're new cinematic IPs, if that makes sense.
Like
And
if
continuations of those are fine too. Like that's why I like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's a different take on something I love.
what was like there's a book series that came out recently, or a comic book series about Valerian, like that actually seems really cool to me. Too bad the movie apparently sucked according to many reviewers.
Yeah.
But like that being an original IP to cinema, totally fine to me. I mean, I'm still disappointed because it's not like I've never heard of this thing before and now it's a movie, but it's still at least better than taking an old movie that's already had its time in the limelight and deciding, you know what, we need to make it again.
Yeah. I mean, and that was part of our problem with like, even though we had fun-ish. I'll say you had more fun with it, but with like Halloween,
Yeah.
you definitely had more fun with that film than I did.
A little bit more fun, yeah.
I was sitting here like, but it was still like, it was so unwarranted because especially they retconned everything again.
And the worst part is they're almost guaranteed to have a sequel of it.
Oh, they're already working on
I
it.
know. So Halloween 3
Three?
squared because it's technically the third movie, but it's
The third movie, but it's also a sequel.
yeah, it's a second to Halloween, but it's a sequel to Halloween's Halloween.
But Halloween is a sequel to Halloween,
Yeah, but
but it's also the third movie called Halloween.
yeah, and then there's a
It'll
Halloween
be the
2.
third two, and then a Halloween 2, and then a Halloween 20, also known as H2O.
Huh. It's Halloween pie. It's pumpkin
Halloween.
pie. Halloween pumpkin pie.
It's Halloween. Figure this shit out for yourself. Good luck.
Okay, so I didn't really have any other news to talk about this week other than our movies for next month. We have decided.
Yes.
And I have
Movies for next month.
and here's our poster. I'm going to make it bigger so everybody can see it. It's going to cover my face because no one needs to see me. Oh, I made it too big.
Jesus Christ, Steven.
Oops. There we go. Perfect. So yeah, that's our poster for next month. Next month, our movies, for those of you who don't know, I've decided to dub the month The Fabled Papers because of all of our movies are like fairy tales or comic books or like stories told in books.
They're stories.
Yeah,
aren't they?
all of them. Every single one of them. So when I realized that last night, like I was piecing this all together. I was like, how the hell am I going to make this a theme for a month? for a poster.
Fabled Pages. I like it. I just got that.
Yeah.
I was curious as that, and I figured you'd explain it now. That's good.
Yeah, the left side's a comic book, and the right side's just a book, and yeah. So, next month, starting next week, I believe it's Suicide Squad and Shazam.
Yes.
And then the week after that, it's Hellboy with Ron Perlman, and then Hellboy with David Halber, whatever his name is.
Dude from Stranger Things.
Yeah. And then we've got Pet Sematary and Curse of La Llorona, and then we're ending it all with Endgame.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm excited for next month's movies because none of them are Dumbo. However, one of them is Suicide Squad. So,
And one of them is Curse of La Llorona, which could potentially be a disaster. Same with and also the Pet Cemetery, which is a Stephen King adaptation, which those hit or miss track records.
yeah.
There's 3 films on the, and also Hellboy could flop or be good. Like,
Yeah.
next month is a lot of ifs and then ending on a high note instead of a lot of goods and ending on an if.
Yeah.
We did this month.
So ultimately, next month as a whole should feel like it should just feel better. It should feel more like a more rounded story, because it'll just end well. And as long as the ending's good, that's all that anyone cares about. So,
Well, that week is gonna be rough, man. Endgame. We're almost there. My God.
we are 4 weeks away from Endgame. You know what's even more fun for me? We're 2 weeks away from my birthday. I'm turning old, and it's not for a good reason.
Yay. But no. I look forward to this month. We can hopefully we can shit and praise DC in 1 week.
That would be nice. Look at how crappy this movie was with all these characters that a few people liked, I guess. And then look at this guy.
There are some good characters in Suicide Squad. It's just we'll get into it next week.
We'll get into it next week. Yes. Okay. Do you have? Oh, by the way, the one movie I'm really not looking forward to in this next month is Curse of La Llorona, because I didn't realize until I looked back on this how many of their movies in the Conjuring universe are just a creepy costume and a white face.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Are you just figuring that out?
I'm not just figuring it out. I've noticed it for a while, but I've noticed this with myself when it comes to me putting together ideas. I'll have thoughts and trails of for movie reviews. I'll know how I feel about a movie based on segments, but it's not until I start talking about it out loud that the pieces connect and I have a coherent thought. And that's kind of what happened with the Conjuring universe. Is I noticed every single one of them, and I've always complained about the makeup in the scenes. At least with the Nun, I complained about the white face makeup. But
God, we hated that.
Yeah.
And that,
So
it was
just
creepy until we just saw
too much of it.
The Nun just didn't work.
Yeah. So I wasn't until I was talking about it out loud with my stepmom about these Conjuring movies, and I was like, you know what? I really don't like that. Thanks for helping me realize that. It's just I need to talk to people to understand my own thoughts sometimes. It's weird.
Well, I'll say this. We've enjoyed most of the Conjuring universe so far that we've seen. And does this take place in Conjuring universe?
Yes.
This is going to be part of that universe?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
This is
again.
so we can have more. I bet you anything. They're just releasing these movies like The Nun and Curse of La Llorona. And what was the one about, was Truth or Dare part of this series too? Or no? Okay, good. So.
These are supposed to be based off of somewhat real things.
Yeah. I mean, true. So these two movies, I bet they're just there so when Annabelle 3 comes out, where it's taking place with the family that owns Annabelle in their home from The Conjuring and Conjuring 2. That way we can see all of these other ghosts in Annabelle 3, and because he has all their collectibles, so it'll make sense for us again. They're we need to show more lore of what these people can do and why they're actually scary, so when they actually show up, they're scary. That's my thought process.
I mean, probably what they did.
Which, by the way, did you realize that Conjuring 1 was about one family? Annabelle 1 was about the origins of Annabelle. Oh, it was about Annabelle. Then, like, Annabelle Origins, or Annabelle 2, was about the origins of Annabelle. And then there's The Conjuring 2, which I think was around the investigator family, not the haunted family. So, and then Annabelle 3 is going to be about the investigating family. And The Conjuring 3, which I know is in the makes, there are talks of it being made, is going to be about something different.
Yeah.
So, like, the franchise, the characters of the franchise are changing franchises, and it's confusing to me. I don't know. Like, it just, the stories aren't making sense in this universe.
I don't think it's supposed to anymore.
Yeah. Okay. That's my complaint. I don't have any other news, really. Nothing really caught my attention this month. Or this week, as for, like, things that I think we absolutely need to talk about.
All right. I didn't have anything, really.
Other than the Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
Let me do a quick double check.
There's more Endgame theory stuff going on. The pop figure is going to be dropping soon for Endgame. And I'm going to grab the Captain America pop figure shirt. If I can. And probably any other Captain America pop figure stuff I can. Because, fanboy. But other than that,
there's a little thing here that kind of so I just quickly ran through something on a website called Cinema Blend, an article by a reporter named Gina Carbone, or Carbon, one of those two. Apparently, Ryan Reynolds and Taika Waititi are in talks about making a movie together for the first time since Green Lantern.
They were both for Green Lantern?
Yep.
Man, how the fuck did that bomb as bad as it did? There's questions about Green Lantern that happened that just like how much did you meddle in that, DC?
Yeah, it says Taika Waititi's joining Ryan Reynolds' action comedy movie Free Guy, which I didn't know was a thing, in all honesty. So there you go.
Cool.
There you go. I had some news. I contributed this week, other than at yelling at things. All right.
Yeah.
I've got nothing else to say otherwise. So, I guess, Dev, is there anything you want to plug?
Follow me on Twitch and Twitter.
There you go. And watch us here on the Har Har. We've got T-Pop on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time with
Third Player Optional.
Third Player Optional.
Our gaming podcast.
Yeah. Where we talk about video games with Torrin and Caver. Sometimes we're on it every now and then. We see. It depends. On Thursdays, we have the Har Har podcast, where we just kind of get a group of people. Dev's the host of that one, so if you love Dev, go see that one on Thursdays. And have a jolly old time as we literally just yell at each other and make fun of things for hours and hours and hours. And then come back on Sundays, where you can see me and Dev once more for our Critically Casual, where next week we're reviewing Shazam and Suicide Squad. So, until then, thanks for joining us. I'll see you on Sunday. Bye, guys. All right, and we're clear.